Thank you for listening to Sassy Optimist with Cindy Chapin. So why is it that typically we want to avoid or get out of uncomfortable situations when most of the time they benefit us, or going through the process actually makes us stronger, makes us a better person, or just makes us feel better? So as I mentioned on my last podcast, I did it from an airport in Florida, in Fort Myers, Florida, as I've been on a lot of trips lately. That trip, I was supposed to go home last weekend, but unfortunately, a week ago today, actually, I was with my job, and I'm here in Houston, Texas, and I was doing a training. I woke up that morning, actually on Thursday. I took a couple bites of a meal, and it just didn't taste good, and I thought, well, maybe it's just the food. So I took about 3 bites and thought, nope, this isn't it. I woke up a week ago today, and I'm getting my days turned around. This is what happens when I'm gone a lot. I lose track of days, and it really doesn't matter to the point of the story. But anyway, because today is actually a Thursday. So whatever, I'm just going to stop focusing on the days. But I woke up a week ago, and I wasn't feeling quite well. And I just thought, oh, it's because of the food I ate. And then ultimately, I made it through the training, but barely. I had to, for the first time in over 15 years I've been with this company, I shouldn't say luckily, I don't believe in luck. Fortunately, I was very blessed that I have never gotten sick, not to the point where it impacted my day. I mean, I've not felt well and not been the greatest, but never gotten sick enough where I couldn't do my job. But unfortunately, a week ago, it happened. So I did get through the training, and I had to excuse myself. I had to finally go up to the owner and then his manager and let them know that I had been faking it as best I could, but I wasn't well and I had to go. So I wasn't able to stay and help them do the final clean, but I did get through it. Long story short, I had the stomach flu. It was way more than food poisoning. So fun times of having the stomach flu. I couldn't even get on my flight last Friday night. Had to stay the weekend at the hotel. But the good thing was a lot. Number one was great franchisee. Super amazing. Kept sending me text messages. Are you okay? Is there anything I can do? But the reason I'm sharing all this with you is stomach flu. I can take a lot, but stomach flu is obviously not fun for anybody, but I wasn't feeling well, and without getting too gross with the description, is once I started, really getting that stuff out of my system, obviously vomiting a lot, couldn't keep anything down, couldn't even keep water down. It was obviously not pleasant at all, it's a horrible, horrible experience to consistently get sick for a couple days. Was very wore out, kept pumping fluids because I knew that I had to keep putting them in me so I didn't get dehydrated and so I wouldn't end up in the ER. But once I got all of that out, broke into a sweat, broke the fever, got all of that past to me, is ultimately I was better. So whatever it was that I got, the virus or whatever it is, I'm not a doctor obviously, I needed to get that out of my system. And, obviously it was a violent way of getting it out of my system with vomiting it out and sweating it out. But ultimately, that's what made me feel better. And then it took a few days because it really wore my system down. And just yesterday, so almost a week later, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm pretty much back to normal. I joked with the owner because I'm luckily in the same market. So I just stayed over the weekend and was able to continue Monday to get back to work. With my job is that I had my sarcasm back. And I said, I'm feeling good when I have my sarcasm back. And he's also has a very similar personality. So it worked off well. But it kind of reminded me that, there's a lot of times where we have to go through very unpleasant experiences, whether it's an illness like what I had last weekend. And it also, too, I needed to get that out, but it reminded me that I had kind of started slipping back into some old habits as far as not prioritizing my day. And so I've been listening to John Maxwell the last couple mornings podcast as I get ready for my day. And he talks about how he is so intentional with literally everything he does. And I'm typically that way, but I had started falling into a habit just because things have been very busy with my job. And I have just kind of been just doing, and I fell into a bad habit. And I know that that's how my body got susceptible to the illness that I received, because I allowed my system to get worn out. And I just started doing and not prioritizing. So because of the illness last weekend, it really helped me to prioritize where I put my time with everything. Even John Maxwell on the podcast this morning was saying, even if he's at a sporting event and they're at an arena and they're waiting in line and there's 3 lines for food and he's got friends, one person will wait in each line, and whoever is obviously going to get there first, then the other 2 people will join them. He said that way he's using his time well. He lived in Atlanta for a number of years, and he figured out the best way on certain days, certain times, to get himself from where he lived to the airport. And so it was a good reminder for me, getting sick, and then also just listening to John Maxwell, that I really have to stop and just reprioritize. So even this morning here, I got up early like I normally do. I love getting up early. I'm very much a morning person. I love getting ready, having time then to do something like this, so make my podcast, because I knew that it was something that I wanted to prioritize, because if I didn't, today's going to be a really long, busy day. Tomorrow we're going to open 2 more salons, and then I fly home. And then my priority over the weekend needs to be, and I want it to be, my time with my husband, because I haven't been able to spend time with him, and I lost time last weekend. And I also changed an appointment that I had on Monday and moved it, because I don't want to lose even just 1 hour of my time with my husband. And he is a priority. My relationship with him is a priority, and I don't ever want him to feel like he's not a priority. So I just wanted to share that with you, that a lot of times we have to go through something bad, but we just have to look at, what am I going to gain from this? What is God trying to teach me? And that's really where I am encouraging you to look at doing that with any daily challenge, even if it's being stuck in traffic, or a rude person does or said something to you, or somebody cut you off. It's kind of like, I always try to stop and ask myself, like, what can I learn from the situation? Have I ever done that? Or is, like when somebody cuts me off, or especially with traffic, or somebody does whatever and I get slowed up, is that even proper grammar? Who cares? No grammar police on this podcast. God's probably keeping me from something. He's either reminding me that I need to slow down, or maybe there was an accident that I would have been involved in if that person hadn't pulled in front of me, and he's slowing me down, and the angels that he has around me, guarding me. So I really just try to wire myself. Yesterday I was with the area manager that works for this owner, and we had to go run an errand, and she's amazing. And so she asked me a question. Basically, she's like, I watch you, she said, and it just seems like you always take things and turn them into good. Like, she goes, are you just that way? And I said, well, yes and no. I said, I have naturally been wired my entire life to be more optimistic, and I love it. I said, I'm a happy person naturally. I truly believe that, people are good. And so that comes natural. I said, but obviously I'm a human being. I said, I have certain buttons that sometimes I allow people to push. And I said, so for the most part, I have trained myself to, just like with the driving example, I said, I am naturally, I love to drive. I love to drive fast. In my early years, I had a number of speeding tickets. So when somebody doesn't keep up with me as far as what I think that they should do, like if they don't move quick enough or if they cut me off, I instantly in the past would get upset. And I said, I still do it every time, sometimes. But I said, typically now, because I have trained myself to react differently with that, or with certain personalities for the most part, I'm training myself. I said, so now it's become a habit. So I said, whether you have it naturally or not, or sometimes in my head, I will have conversations. So I said, she also works for an owner who is naturally wired to be very optimistic. And I said, so that's going to be good for you. And so it was just interesting. And it was also very flattering that she said that. So, well, thank you so much for listening to Sassy Optimist with Cindy Chapin.